You're breaking up a little bit, Earl. Sorry, what was that? So Errol's actually been digging into the Clubhouse community more, so he's probably making a comment, something about Clubhouse, now that I mentioned it, but you're breaking up a good bit. We're going to move on for now. Are there plans for an in-game marketplace to trade NFTs? 100%. That's one of the biggest things that the Cosmos ecosystem needs, is an ability for...
yeah.
There you are.
That's long.
Oh man, we're getting a bunch of delayed audio from Errol. So a marketplace is going to be a really important element, just because I mean that's what people need in order for the utility to be there for the NFTs. I mean, the idea of owning in-game skins and other customizations from something like a Fortnite ecosystem.
So
sorry about that, guys. The idea of owning these things, the value is oh, it's full. Okay, hold up, guys. Let me just can somebody tell me how to let more people in? And it says there's no limit to the number of people that can connect, but it does look like it's capping it at like 25. Oh, interesting. Cool. Thank you, brother. So it looks like we're streaming this. Yeah, if you guys wanna hop in there, that's awesome. We'll have to set up something a little bit more sophisticated for next time. Yeah, so the marketplace is going to be really important. That's what we have for Ethereum. That's how people trade value. That's how you have ownership. It doesn't matter if you own it if you can't do anything with it. And trading it is the first base use case. So developing some kind of marketplace in conjunction with a good NFT wallet for Cosmos is going to be a huge initiative as we're collaborating with Pylons and the Tendermint team. Experience in game development, any references? So Passage 3D is the big one. Again, Passage 3D is entirely built on Unreal Engine 4. We've done stuff for the web, but ultimately Unreal is the best gaming experience that we can create without developing a totally custom engine. So if you guys want to go over and check out at Passage 3D on Twitter, we've got some videos of what that experience is like. Different events that we've done. We've done events for Capitol Records. We've done events for American Girl, Amazon, and right now we're talking to brands like Funimation, Nickelodeon, Comic-Con. We've got some really great partners in that space for events, for content, and that's all built around the Passage platform that we developed. So that's one big project that we've completed. We've done all sorts of other various interaction applications. You can probably find some of that if you look up our studio 3 division, which is at We Build Worlds on Twitter. Biggest challenges you see before a full release, a lot of that's going to have to do with just making sure we've got a really solid path to the Cosmos ecosystem. We want to build something that's going to last and not something that's going to have to be changed in just a just a few months, or like we want something that we can constantly build on and grow. And it's going to be a balance of, so maybe this is the biggest challenge. We'll be balancing the long-term benefits and functionality with the short-term usability, and giving people functionality they can use now while still creating a structure that's going to be viable long-term. Characters will have levels, stats. There's going to be, we're still figuring out some of the mechanics of how this is going to work, the game mechanics. But yes, every single one's going to have unique stats. These are all going to be connected to in-game interaction. The goal is to have something that's like maybe reminiscent. It's going to be RPG like roguelite style game. It's going to be really cool. The goal is to have quick experiences where people can get can do questing, farming. Like there's going to be opportunities for different play styles, different ways to develop your character or to develop your space as we allow create locations that people can customize. The goal is to deliver some functionality up front that is going to be useful and fun and engaging and connects to the story, and then just grow the world out from there. Yeah, so all that stuff is going to be a big part of the game, making sure that it's unique to you, connects to the story, and very community-oriented. NFT drop before the release of the game. That's another thing we're figuring out. How do we, well, and if you mean before the release of the game, it's going to be released in stages, different elements of it, farming, the item shop, things like that. So all those things are going to be incremental, and NFT drops are going to be kind of mixed in there. We're going to do town 1, we'll add some features, do town 2, 3, and 4, add more features, and build out. Not necessarily avoiding the MMO genre. A lot of MMOs can be somewhat formulaic, somewhat grindy. It may just not be the most accurate analogy. It's close. We've definitely had what we're doing with Passage compared to an MMO because of the way it connects people in a virtual world. The term metaverse is thrown around a lot. And a lot of it is because this is such a new category. There's a lot of defining still to be done in terms of like, what does this really look like? What is it? Why Cosmos? Yeah, it's a no-brainer, but still I want to hear you on that. So, I got into Cosmos through Akash because we've been building apps for a long time, and seeing decentralized cloud compute was just a game changer for me because we're building applications that have to run somewhere, right? We need compute power. And so many people are reliant on somebody like Google or Amazon for compute power. And so, ultimately they get to decide whether or not you run your platform or not. So seeing something that was decentralized was huge. Began digging more into the broader ecosystem around Akash. And Cosmos is just great from a development perspective because Go, we can build in Go, which is an incredibly efficient and fast programming language. Interoperability is the future. You guys, I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's some of the reasoning that we put into this. And ultimately, we think it's going to be the best possible user experience long term, even if there isn't a pre-built NFT community here yet. We want to be a part of creating that. If there will be an Akash spend to play, or how is Akash used in the project? Well, the biggest way Akash is used in the project is it's going to be built on Akash. We want the options for people to be able to pay in different IBC compatible tokens. So if you want to pay in Akash, great. If you want to pay in Atom, great. We want to add more use case to those tokens. There will probably be some element of how the tokenomics work beyond that will depend on how the token interacts with any native tokens that we have, things like that. So we're still figuring out what's the additional use beyond just being able to use Akash in the ecosystem and spend Akash to get your NFTs, things like that. But the most primary use for the Akash network is we're actually running it on dCloud servers. Something about the team, what are your backgrounds, and are you confident to compete with the quality of non-blockchain games? That's the coolest thing, is that we've been building experiences for huge brands like Capitol Records, Amazon. What's actually really interesting about people who are building, typical games is that oftentimes, they're building for a community that has no real accountability, right? It's like, your audience can get mad, but what are they going to do? Whereas as a service-based business, we build applications on contracts, right? Like we have clients who we've got agreements with, like we have to meet deadlines in order to get paid. So it's a very different environment, very, very different ecosystem. My studio is 3Division. We built the product Passage. We're a small team based in the US. We've got about 8 full-time employees, along with some contractors locally and abroad that we work with. We've built a ton of these experiences. I've probably gone over, answered parts of this question already. But it's, we've done a lot, and it's been a long journey getting to this point where we're building this specific project. And it's been a really cool combination of different experiences in the game development world, in the application development world, and now in blockchain. And with our experience in Passage and just generally having a really good understanding of, and a lot of individual experience creating something that's meant to be personal and immersive and high quality, I think we bring a really unique perspective to this project, because so many other people are kind of creating in a vacuum. They don't have one client, they have a large audience that may or may not be able to communicate their needs effectively. And we've had to make products that not only, because we're a service-based business, we've had to make stuff that works, because we have to be able to sell it, and it's got to be profitable. So ultimately, I think we've got a really interesting perspective on how to make a game that's not only going to be, have solid deadlines and functional and deliverable, but also something that's going to be able to add value to the community, and just a new kind of social perspective on this whole ecosystem. I see so many people recycling old ideas and either just directly translating something from the traditional gaming world and trying to add a crypto filter to it. Whereas I think this is going to be a really new perspective on crypto and gaming, because we're talking about mixing elements of DeFi. And I guess the unique element we bring is an understanding of purpose and storytelling, right? And I'll kind of get to a little bit of the story around this. But we've been building things, you can kind of tell from the art, we've got a unique style. And we're trying to create stuff that isn't just copying traditional game functionality, but there's some human motivation to it. It's like, well, why would you want to do this? And there will be some financial reasons why you would want to interact and play this game. There will be social reasons. We want to have lots of community engagement, and being able to see the other, like in an MMO style, being able to see other people around you and interact, having community events. Because of our experience and our connections in the event space, doing events for these larger brands, we'd love to have lots of in-game events happening, bring in, who knows, celebrities, social community leaders, things like that. So it's a unique perspective. As you kind of look at the different projects we've done, you can kind of get an idea of how what we're doing is different, and it's not necessarily just the same thing as traditional game developers. Any plans in terms of marketing to a larger community? It's only up from here. I mean, our focus has been the Cosmos community to start with, because these are the people who are going to get it right off the bat. But there will be a long-term, marketing outreach and education, helping people understand what this is. We really do want to funnel in. We've actually already have some members of the community who have reached out to us, connecting us with influencers who have like tens of millions of followers, wanting to do Akash and Cosmos-centric events. So we're hoping to be able to use these influencers to bring new people into the Cosmos ecosystem, into crypto, and into NFTs as well. So we definitely want to introduce this to the larger world as well, and not just kind of recycle existing crypto users, but bring in fresh blood as well. Any plans to involve other key projects like Luna, Osmo, DVPN? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to be talking to these core projects in the community in terms of being able to do cross-promotion stuff, airdrops. Like, we definitely want to be, that's the great thing about the Cosmos ecosystem, is everybody does have interoperability and community on their mind. And so we definitely want to be able to involve everybody as much as we can, and create something that's mutually beneficial. How many different classes will there be? Can you do multiple jobs, and how will these mutations be found or created? That's a great question. Some of that stuff is still being decided. We have a lot of classes and some really fun ones that I can't wait to share. I'm probably going to have to start dropping more of them. I want to have them all released before we drop the website this week. So we'll pick up the pace on sharing them. We have a lot developed already. There's probably 12 plus different classes right now, and at least as many, if not more, characters. And there's going to be a lot of different variations. That's 12 core classes and 12 or so core characters, but there's going to be variations on those as well. There'll be, kind of like a base class. There'll be rare variations, different appearances to each one with different features. So there's gonna be a lot of different opportunities. Something with the story. So I mean, the big picture story for this is it's really meant to be about adventure. So I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids, and the kind of games that I really enjoy playing are highly story focused. So we are trying to build out a immersive story world for this. We're building kind of a lore around it and a lot of art content. If you check out, you scroll through my personal Twitter, you'll find like a graphic novel that we did around our We Build Worlds 3 division team. So we want to do things like graphic novels and have lots of content for people to really engage with what this is and kind of connect in different ways for whatever makes sense based off of your play style. But we want competitive elements, but we also want people to be able to get in, hang out for a few minutes and peace out, right? Or, go do some casual farming for a little bit, or just go hit a quest, kind of roguelite style, where you're questing until you die and then you get your upgrades and you peace out. Like being able to do quick sessions, being able to do casual stuff, being able to do co-op. The goal is to make something that's highly story oriented and social. So those elements are going to be important. We'll be revealing more of the story as we go along. But it's an adventure. That's the big thing. It's meant to be something where we'll probably develop a cast of characters of some kind. A lot of that you're going to have to wait and see. Estimate for the average amount of Akash versus Atom needed to acquire initial NFT offerings. So hope is that you'll be able to choose. Almost certainly you'll be able to pay in Atom. There's even a chance you might be able to pay in cash, depending on filthy fiat money. That's still a conversation we're having and kind of exploring what's been built already, what tools are we contributing in terms of building up the NFT ecosystem for Cosmos. We're looking at between $200 and $250 being the rough range of what the value of the initial NFTs will be in whatever tokens we're going to be able to offer them in. So that's the range we're looking at. Part of the reason that we're looking at this price range is wanting to be able to include 3D characters that you'll claim with your NFT for the 3D world. Also being able to include access to physical goods. So some things are just going to be the original. The people who own NFTs will have access to limited edition stuff, but they may still have to pay for it, depending on what it is for the physical goods. For some of it, they'll just have to pay shipping, and the item itself will be free. We're just trying to figure out a good solution that gives people a lot of value for the NFT, gives people some physical application, but also is going to be feasible in terms of scaling, especially for an international audience where shipping could be all across the world. Will I be able to purchase a house in the game and display my NFTs? So this is a huge goal for us with Passage. Is we want everyone. We're building tools presently for people to be able to customize 3D space themselves in the Passage world, or in any Passage world, right? The cool thing about this is the way we want to structure this. Your world wouldn't have to necessarily just be in StrangeClan. It can be part of a much bigger metaverse, right? And if you're friends with somebody on StrangeClan and they're walking through the StrangeClan world, your house might pop up there. And they would see you, and they see your doors open, they can walk in, hang out, you're there, say hi, see your NFTs and stuff like that. But if they're in another world, right, if they're in the Funimation world, and you're also in that ecosystem, they might see your house there. The cool thing is your house is kind of its own digital entity, and it could be connected to any of these metaverses, just depending on how you're interacting with people. Once somebody comes into your house, you could both walk out into the StrangeClan universe together to go quest, or walk out into the Funimation universe to go watch a premiere. The idea is that all these things would be interoperable and connected. And this is definitely part of the long-term vision. We want to offer functionality as soon as possible. But then we'll definitely be we're building more and more onto the ecosystem, because ultimately that is our goal, that people would be able to invest in their own space, that this would become a social platform for people to interact, to share content, to do experiences together. and that it wouldn't just be a game. How much of the compute power comes from Akash and how much is GPU render? Well, all the stuff that's visually rendered, so the code that you do, it's a lot of the pieces that, so things like the UI and some back-end processes can run on Akash because those all run on CPU. But for a lot of the visuals and rendering the Unreal Engine experience itself, we need GPU power. And actually, one of the people that we're partnering with, we had a call with the CEO of Otoy. And Otoy is a big player in the visual effects and 3D industry. People on their board of directors are guys like J.J. Abrams and some really big people. But they have a project called Render Token. And Render Token is essentially decentralized GPU compute. So the idea there is that it's very similar to what Akash is doing, but they're offering GPU compute for this type of GPU-heavy applications. Do you have any large partnerships now or pending? Sorry for a little bit of background noise, guys. Do you have any large partnerships now or pending? I mean, right now we're talking to brands like Dolby. We did some work with Niantic, who developed the Pokemon Go application. Yeah. So we mentioned Comic-Con, Funimation, Nickelodeon. In terms of blockchain stuff, I mean, we're partnering with, we're already having really great conversations with people at the Tendermint team and other Cosmos teams, Akash, Pylons, obviously. And we're open to more conversations too. I mean, we've been talking to anybody who we can, because ultimately, again, this is going to be a community effort in order to get all of our resources collected and to be able to make something that's going to benefit the community as a whole. We're going to need more than one project invested in this, which already we've seen a lot of that, which is really cool. So yeah, there are a lot of people who have shown interest in partnering with us. We're just figuring out what a lot of those things are, right? Some of these is going to be we're using their technology, we're applying for different grants and things like that. Some of it will be early investors, people who are sharing social reach, and we'll try to announce all this stuff, publicly, so you guys can share and kind of see how we're connecting to the ecosystem. Who is paying you guys salary at the moment and setting your deadlines? I mean, right now the deadlines are really going to be dictated around how quickly we can develop this. It's going to be dictated around, some of the deadlines are going to be based off of other developments that are happening in the Cosmos ecosystem right now. Like the stuff with Pylons, they're going to be doing a mainnet launch in October, which is just really great timing in terms of being able to help define what features we're going to have and how people are going to use it, so that we can connect what we're doing with StrangeClan and build synergistic tools alongside them. So something that's going to be connected to just what's going on in the ecosystem. In terms of our salary, we get paid by a lot of client work, right? So we're kind of working double duty right now, building out the Passage ecosystem and serving clients there, as well as our 3D animation and rendering work that we do. And splitting our time doing work for StrangeClan. So really not getting paid for this specifically until we start selling stuff. So it's cool. We have a lot of support from the Tendermint Foundation, from Akash, and other leaders in the space. Impressing with 12 core classes. How's the experience in the team concerning programming for RPG, classes, living, farming? As a father too, I love that you are pro quick sessions. Yeah, exactly. We want to make something that's accessible to everybody, that you can, you can play how you want to play. It could be more casual. There'll be options for doing competitive or PvE type play styles. But the goal is that it's going to emulate a lot of, just real world scenarios where, you're farming, you're crafting, you're questing, battling. Like there's going to be a representative play styles for different types of gamers or social people. I mean, if you just want to collect, if you just want to hang out, all that stuff's going to be there. And we're going to be adding more over time. But how's the experience in the team concerning programming for RPG? I mean, what's cool is the RPG or game development is all built on human interaction, right? It's just how do you motivate people to take any particular action, right? If your leveling up just feels like numbers on a page with different pictures, there's no real value to it, right? You've got to have some real human motivation. There has to be some risk. There has to be ownership and story. I think story is a huge part of this. And that's one of the things that our team really excels at. I think it shows in the content that we're creating and the type of events that we do and the clients that we've worked with. But just being able to, having our experience in the event space has been a big part of understanding what's going to motivate people, because we have to push 30,000 people through an event over a weekend, and ultimately it's got to be a good experience. People have to be able to easily get into the experience, see all the different things that are available to them without being overwhelmed, stuff like that. Yeah, I think NIPAM, maybe I'm saying that wrong, is streaming this on YouTube, which means it will probably be stored there afterwards if people wanted to watch it. Do you plan to make the Strange Clan a DAO? We would love to. I mean, again, the core concepts here are story and community, right? So being able to have the community decide the direction of different key progressions in the game, in the storyline, that would be huge. It's just a matter of figuring out how does that play into things. How do we make that meaningful so that it's going to add value as much as possible. It'll just play into some of our decisions around the tokenomics and game mechanics and things like that. But yeah, that's absolutely something that we would like to do. Favorite video game that's easy? Zelda. Zelda and Final Fantasy. Well, and it's so funny. I was actually looking at, there's a game coming out, demo just dropped. It's coming out this month called Sable. It's got like a Mobius art style, who is a 70s graphic novel creator. And I love a lot of classic games. For me, story is everything. So like one of my favorite early games was Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time. Really rich symbolism with the masks and time, and I mean, really, they left a lot to mystery, right? They didn't try and Disneyfy it. There you go, that's the one. And make it a feel-good experience. Other story projects or stories that I really connect to are things like Hayao Miyazaki. What else? I actually have as one of our partners for Passage the guy who, Dante Basco, the guy who voiced Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a great show. I love that. I love things like Naruto and My Hero Academia. But also a lot of old stuff. Again, I do feel like a lot of stories that are made now, whether it's games or otherwise, don't have the same kind of depth or mystery, the same kind of like deep human symbolism. Love things like classic Mario and Nintendo. But I also grew up on some competitive games like Halo, played Overwatch for a while. So I've definitely enjoyed a very diverse set of games. But now I'm super prone to jump into co-op style games, things that can play as a social thing with friends to work through a story. Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity Original Sin, stuff like that. Do you plan to reward early adopters and ambassadors of the game? Usually NFT-driven projects implement specific roles within Discord with perks and benefits. 100%. This last week has just been a crazy rush, but we're keeping track of the people who are invested in the community, keeping track of just like people who have gotten in early, people who are clearly getting involved and answering other questions. We're definitely going to be pulling people into moderator positions, giving people unique roles for when they got in. I mean, like I said, we're at 286 members in the Discord. Like, you guys are all super early. Everyone here, we're going to look to create unique opportunities for you to kind of define your story, right? We would love to implement some stuff in Discord, like story progression roles, so people can kind of like identify with different clans and characters and classes, but also use that as representative of when they got in on the project. So yeah, we want to create all of that, and it's really just a matter of time putting everything in and set everything up. 200, 250 per character and character required to play seems like a high barrier to entry for children, college students, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to create other opportunities for people to get involved. That won't be permanent. There will likely be other ways for people to get involved in the game. We're just figuring out what that is, right? We think we can create game passes that don't actually give you a unique character, but that you might have to start with some kind of default character and work your way into being more unique. There's a lot of different ways we're thinking about getting other people in, making this more accessible to more of the community. I would love to know more about kind of like what we're going to have to figure out, where's the value going to be. But the goal in these first character sets, and the reason the price would probably be higher, at least for these initial 10,000 characters, is ultimately just we're trying to deliver the most value to these people. There's going to be potentially physical rewards. And what we might like to do is even kind of set this up like almost like a Kickstarter where people could kind of elect into different tiers so that early supporters can have different ways of getting involved if you don't have as much to invest as you would like. That's also if we're going to be figuring out. We'll be putting stuff in front of you to get feedback. Some of the limitations in terms of the pricing are just going to be wanting to deliver a lot of value. So it is going to be a premium product to some degree. Awesome. You guys are great. There's so many great questions here. We'll definitely do some more Q&As. And we're always open. I mean, we're as involved as we can be in the Discord. Obviously, it's still really small, but it's going to be growing very rapidly, especially as we connect to more influencers and more leaders in the space. So thanks for listening, for asking great questions, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys.